This is the second forum that we've had. We did hold a knowledge forum back in April, and we found that really useful. It was a really good exercise for our team to come along and listen to some of the concerns of the Magnetic Island community in particular, but we know there's other residents and interested organisations from Townsville here as well. I guess I'm just here to recap a little bit on what we went through at the last forum and what we're here to do today, or to try and achieve today. I guess at the last forum, it was a really technical forum, so we went through and invited a lot of scientists from around the country who had worked on the Port Expansion EIS, and the focus on that forum was to present a lot of the scientific modelling that had been undertaken around sediment movement in Cleveland Bay, around the impacts of turbidity on seagrass and corals and things like that. We did get overwhelmingly positive response to that forum, so a lot of people turned up and shared their views, which was great. We did have a feedback survey at the end, which Adam circulated. So the response was overwhelmingly positive about the engagement method, and to ask the port to come back and present and engage with the community a lot more and on different topics. And the majority of the feedback from that forum related to the need for the Port Expansion Project, so that is the bulk of what today's forum is about. And we've got some special guest speakers here from industry to talk about what's driving the Port Expansion Project. So you'll hear from us, but you'll also hear from industry reps about that. We also had a request for further information about dredge placement options. So we have a session on that later this afternoon as well, to listen more to your concerns, but also take you through some of the legislative processes, what regulators do, which is what the community asked about, and what we can be doing differently in the future in the best practice space. So just to put into context a bit about the Port Expansion Project, I mean, obviously you know the port's been here for over 150 years and really was the foundation of the city and has underpinned the economy in this region since the port was established. Since the very beginning, we've been moving product which originally started as sort of meat and tallow and sugar and things like that in the upper reaches of Flinders Street, wharves that were built right up there before the city existed, and then the city established around it was declared as a city after the port's founding. And to this day, I guess the port has remained in touch with every aspect of the economy in North Queensland, has grown to become one of, well, the country's largest port for sugar, and lead, copper, zinc, fertiliser and molasses, but also it's touching the lives of people in everyday lives of every person living in this region that people perhaps don't think about every day. So everything that's coming through the port in terms of furniture in your house, fuel in your car, the cars that people drive, the clothes that people wear, the food on supermarket shelves, and you know, when you go to Bunnings on the weekend, and Claudia will touch on a case study, some of the furniture you're buying there. So these things come through ports, and ports are really critical to maintaining the lifestyle that people become accustomed to. And I guess we all don't want to become dependent on or have self-sufficient lifestyles that are sound through things like different events such as natural disasters and flooding events. 8,000 people that are employed in the region also depend on the port for their employment, which is, you know, pretty significant. I think when we have port tours, I don't go through a port tour that we hold every time without having heard of different people that have worked in the port, or their family members have worked in the port throughout its 150-year history. So we find that really fascinating, and it's something that we're very proud of. But today, I guess we're here to focus mostly on the Port Expansion Project and put that into context about why it is needed and what's driving it. We went through the project in detail at the last meeting, so I won't go through the project itself in detail today. It's more about what's driving the project, was what the community asked for more information about. So the port's worked through the existing harbour that we have. The harbour that you see now has been in existence for 140 years. That's a pretty long time, and the last major channel works that we had done was a quarter of a century ago. So when you think about what's been happening over the course of that's a quarter of a century, that's a really long time. Ships have tripled in size over the period of a quarter of a century. So there's two main triggers for the port expansion that we're going to go through today. One relates to the trade elements of the port expansion, and that's what's driving new berths being built over the next 30 years. The Port Expansion Project was born out of a 30-year master plan that we put together over a decade ago. and that looked at what infrastructure would we need to cater for different cycles of trade over the next 30 to 50 years. So berths will be driven by trade, and Claudia Brum-Smith, our General Manager of Business Development, is going to touch on some of those key drivers with some real life case studies. I guess the second part of what's driving the port expansion, but most importantly the most imminent driver for the port expansion getting started, is ship sizes. So we have two speakers here today, Jeff Dalglish from Shipping Australia and K-Line, and also Julie O'Brien from Tourism Events Queensland, who are going to talk about some of the key shipping drivers that are imminent and right on our doorstep right now that are driving the need for channel widening. So it's not berths driving the first stage of the port expansion, it's actually vessel sizes and needing to get our channel widened so that we can accommodate these ships, which are critical to move the cargo and move the passengers and enable defence capability in this region. So I guess the container ships that you see, of which 95% can't fit, are how the things like all of the commodities in your household and in the region that we use come through the port. Cruise ships is one that's particularly of interest to our region, and one that's been a big area of focus for the port over the last 5 years. We have a white and grey ship attraction committee, which Sharon Hoops from the port chairs, and that committee has been focused on growing numbers, which have grown significantly from 4 to 11 to 21 coming next year, and we want to see that grow, and I think Julie's presentation will be really interesting for you about what we're doing in that space. The other thing I was asked to touch on just briefly at the last forum, we said how do the community get involved in the port expansion, not just the port expansion project, but everyday elements of the port's operations, and the community liaison group was a forum that we mentioned had just been established in March of this year. So we had the forum in April, and we said we would like to use this CLG group as a forum for residents of Magnetic Island, interested organisations of Magnetic Island to get involved with the port, share your views with us, with the representatives on the committee. So we have 27 members on the committee. We meet monthly, alternating between Magnetic Island and Townsville, and we go through things around port developments as well as sustainability operations of the port, best practice, things we can be doing, how we can be leading different initiatives in the port to provide transparency to the community around what we do in terms of monitoring, but also what we're doing in terms of improving our environmental footprint in the communities that we serve. So we do have a couple of the CLG representatives here today. Leon is here and Norm's just joined us, and thank you for coming along today as well. But the list is here. You can certainly make contact with any of our CLG reps anytime to find out what's going on, and also to share your views about what we can be doing better in the future. So with the CLG, last forum we talked about turbidity being a key area of interest for the community. Talked about turbidity versus visibility monitoring. One of the things we did want to do today is just highlight one of the initiatives that the Community Liaison Group is working through specifically in that space. So we're big, strong supporters of growing tourism opportunities on the island, and we're participating in a number of ways on that front. But a couple of the tourism representatives and environmental representatives on the CLG are working on a sustainability dashboard or a water quality dashboard, which helps, I guess, fill the gap where there have been a lack of information or a lack of visibility around different areas of key tourism hotspots around the island. So under Adam's guidance as the chair of that subcommittee, there's been quite a lot of work going on, and we'd like to present a little bit of that to you to show you just one of the small ways that we can be working with the community on improving knowledge gap and improving our understanding of the environment. So once again, thanks everyone for coming along today. We hope you get a lot out of today. This isn't a one-off. Last forum was the first one we kicked off in this style, but there will be more forums and more ways to engage with the community. So if you have feedback at the end, there is a survey, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much.